one day we saw that this house that Van Gogh lived in was coming up for auction. It was very, very dilapidated. Nobody cared about it. There was a blue plaque outside, but nobody really cared about the Van Gogh story. And then when James saw this and saw that the house where Van Gogh had lived as a young man was being so unloved, he thought, we've got to do something about it. We have to save it for the nation.
This job started off obviously as a very creative thing because we had the building that was in complete ruins, and we had to think about what this organisation would be, what the house would be able to host, what the house would look like. So there was a lot of just building it completely from scratch.
Since we bought almost 12 years ago, yeah, and you can imagine that time the condition of the house almost will collapse. I haven't seen inside before I bought the house. So we try to get a planning permission. Of course, we need the money. So I have been working very hard to try to find the money, cash money to pay the worker, to find a good worker. So we try to talk to the council, we try to talk to the government, and no hope, very difficult. Because we are not going to decorating just like a normal house. We try to make it like a heaven, a temple for artists.
Obviously, from my perspective as someone who has a design background, I ended up doing a lot of the design work on the house. So thinking about an old building, how this old building might tell the story of Van Gogh who lived here, as well as allow new artists to come and put their own mark on the house as well. And that was a really, really interesting process that took a few years, to be honest, to be able to get to the point where we felt like we knew what we were actually doing. There were obviously really fun parts, like commissioning artists to add little sculptures in the house, inviting people to make curtains as well for the building. And throughout the house, there's loads and loads of hidden little moments where I've contributed or we've invited other artists to be able to add their mark.
We have several strands to our programming. First and foremost, we are a site that conserves this chapter of Van Gogh's life. We run tours at the end of every month, welcoming visitors who want to learn about this topic. Secondly, as a sort of living house, we are an artist residency, so a large part of the year we run artist residencies, both for UK-based and international artist residents. Thirdly, we are also a site for exhibitions, events, performances and commission work as well. Fourthly, we do a lot of community and education work in the local community, and that's really important to us as well.
Reactions are always really positive, which is really nice. My favourite question to ask is, how did you find out about the house? Because sometimes people will tell you they're watching a news story or they're reading a news article, or maybe they're local and they saw Van Gogh House being renovated and they just didn't get a chance to come and visit before.
Over the last year, we've welcomed around 8 artist residents to the house. Now that's really supported their careers, and for many it's been at a crucial point of their careers, whether it's recently graduated from university or it's at a point where they want to do a particular larger project.
Now, so much of my work is much more about working with contemporary artists and putting on a programme that members of the public can come and enjoy, as well as making sure that artists feel like this is a space that they can actually spend a lot of their creative energy as well. So it's a bit of a mixture, but all of the work, I would say, is really creative.
I was invited by the house to think about the kind of queer domesticities we find in homes. So this invitation, which I loved, was to think kind of beyond Van Gogh, but also think about the house when it was a boarding house, when there were lots of different people living here together and a kind of alternative family setup.
We have also had a huge amount of impact in terms of the community partners that we work with as well.
I decided to work with Van Gogh House to put on an event that was around young people connecting with nature. So Van Gogh House had an amazing project called the Herbarium Project, and that was about plants. And I thought it'd be great to get young people who may feel a bit traumatised within school environment to get out of school and to do a project based around nature, where they could be part of their community, work in nature. That project actually won an award, so won an award from Incredible Edible for creating a gardening space within a very strange environment.
We like to think that we have had a lot of impact, both locally in terms of the schools programs that we run, the amount of primary school children that have being able to interact with this part of their own local history.
The young people interacted in a really, really great way. They enjoyed coming here. I think what was interesting is that the amount of history that they were able to get from coming to Van Gogh House was really helpful.
When we bought the gallery and we bought this house, the agents at the time said that so many local people had written to them saying it would be a real shame if developers took over these properties and turned them into flats. And so we've been able to actually turn them into something that is working with local artists, international artists.
We like to think that we have had an impact just in opening up the house for people to come in and see it. It was a private residence for a very long time, and the fact that we now have exhibitions here and we have tours here allows the general public to come into the house and see this and view and interact with this heritage in a way that they never would have been able to before.
Two things that stand out as really memorable for my work is just meeting loads of people from the community is just amazing, because London is such a big space, but having something that looks like a house but is actually an art gallery and a community space and encourages young artists is just so lovely. So you get to meet so many different people, just learning about their lives and their experiences, and then also being supported as a young artist and staff member of Van Gogh House to give back in ways that I want to, such as running workshops and having conversations with people, and actually being encouraged to be young creative, similar to I guess Van Gogh when he was younger and was exploring the world of art. That's my favourite things.
Van Gogh House is the best place to work. It's such a lovely atmosphere, and I think there's such a strong tie between being able to tell a story, being able to allow for artists to make new work, but also to create an environment where other people feel comfortable, and something that they can just really enjoy is the space and the atmosphere of the building. And I think all of those things have to work together with our programme to make a kind of a healthy ecosystem.
I think we've also, over the last 5 years, we've built up this amazing project, and it's been, we've put a lot of our own passion into it. But I think now it's getting to the stage where to make it bigger, better, sustainable, it needs to maybe move slightly outside our own family and bring in more expertise and more advisors and more funding. And then we can make it a sustainable project that's not just reliant on our own passion, but to involve everybody else in that passion.
We also bought a space not far from here, Sth Gallery. Sth in English, that means Three Sisters, which is my daughters. And we're also running more than 6-7 years now. And we help so many international, local art students, not only for painting, also for installation, sculpture, music. So we should continue doing like that, and also have an opportunity to make the Van Gogh House extended. We're not a profitable earning company. CIC, we just try to give it back, to keep this beautiful history, unique story building forever. Like I said, we're very open. Get more fund, more support, and get more artists being promoted from here.